Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the Defense Perimeter Platform, most notably the Mars Defense Perimeter Platform. Now, I'm hoping I have the correct picture. It's not that easy to really come across this. From D6 Holocron, we did not actually have a picture of it there, and looking around, I saw some different pictures. So, if this is not the one that they had actually shown, I do apologize. We don't have a lot of extra stats. Trying to look it up on Daystrom's website themselves, they don't have anything. So, we're just trying to take our best guess at this. The stats here do come from D6 Holocron. I just don't know if I have the right picture. This would work in a lot of regards. So we'll just kind of go with it as it is. So um, this is a defense perimeter platform. It's an automated defense station. It is at starfighter scale. It is roughly about 60. Has a 60-meter radius. Let's see. It is space station operations, an autopilot of 1D plus 2. So it's not going to be the best at trying to maneuver around, so you might be able to outmaneuver it. So we'll kind of keep that in mind. There is no crew on here. This is fully automated. It has a hull of 3D, shields of 7D plus 1. So if you can take the shields down in the Star Wars universe, you would be able to use like an ion cannon or something. I know Star Trek has done some different things in the past to counteract some of this stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to have to do brute force with your um, phasers or disruptors or whatever in order to just punch through the shields. Once you're through the shields, it is a little bit robust, I will say that, but it's not going to be the most robust. And it won't take all that long once the shields get knocked down. All right, so what do we have for weapons on board this uh, automated station here? We do have Type 15 phaser arrays. So this is a 360-degree each. It doesn't say how many, but it is an array. So that means it's going to kind of wrap around here. Placed. Um, I don't know exactly how to equidistantly around the sphere. So this is more of a ball, so that any given target can be targeted by a minimum of two, and uh, more often, or two or more uh, phasers at a time. So we'll just say it for just simplicity's sake that any arc that you're in, you're going to be able to be hit by two phasers at a time. Um, Now the phasers themselves have a fire control of 2D plus 2. Now, it really doesn't say what other bonuses we have. So this is kind of a little bit of an oversight from D6 Holocron here, and I'll just put it at that because if we're going to say our autopilot, everything from our autopilot's a 1D plus 2, that means that we're going to have a 3D plus 4 for any attack that we're having from our phasers. So that's not really the most robust. So this is going to be at times just taking pot shots. At other times, it's going to be able to hit you. So just kind of keep that in mind. We do have a rate of fire of 3, so each phaser can shoot 3 times. Um, that means in any arc, you're going to be able to be shot at 6 times. So I would take a good gander. You're probably going to get hit at least once, and it's doing 6D damage. So in our Star Trek uh, universe here, that's quite a bit of damage coming from a phaser system. So we'll just kind of keep that in mind. That is quite a bit of damage going out towards anyone, and that is very respectable there. All right, we also have photon torpedo launchers. Now this varies. Um, Placed around the sphere so that at any given time it can be targeted by a minimum of two or more launchers. Uh, Same thing. And again, it's going to be the same fire control. So now we're talking about another 3D plus 4 in order to for a roll to hit you. Um, Now, depending on your range or whatever else you're doing, your evasion and all that, you may very well be able to avoid being hit. Um, so that's always going to be a big kind of offset here. Okay. Um, we do have a spread of 10. Now, what it doesn't tell us is how many missiles are on board. These are going to be fully automated, so it's going to be a launcher system. I would guess it's going to have a fairly large um, automatic loader, maybe a rack of 20 or 30. But if we're saying 20 or 30, or I don't know exactly how big you want to go, I mean, it is what, 60 meters? 60-meter radius. And the photon torpedo launchers they're self-guiding. So let's just say that we have one on the top, one on the bottom. They can self-guide to wherever. Okay, just for simplicity's sake. And we could have a ring of about 100 torpedoes. That means that you would have about 10 rounds worth for each launcher to be able to fire, because it's a spread of 10. So we can launch 10 torpedoes per round, per launcher. So there's two launchers. Just making it simple, we're going to say there's two launchers, one on the top, one on the bottom. It's going to send 10 out, and it's just going to go left, right, up, down, wherever it's going to go to try and hit whatever is incoming. That's pretty respectable. Now the damage is not as much as what our phasers are, but it's not something to just kind of not worry about. 4D damage, when you're sitting there saying you might have a possibility of 20 torpedoes coming at you, you're going to have a high chance of torpedoes kind of knocking on your hull and maybe wearing down your shields. So there's a very good chance you're going to get worn down fairly quickly. And like I said, let's just put this into a perspective and say that maybe there's 100. It, the automated system has got about 100 torpedoes on essentially like a automated magazine to be able to go through. So yeah, I think that would be a very possibility, a very big possibility of that. So, and the description that we actually get here, the Mars Defense Perimeter was a Starfleet defensive program set up to defend the inner Sol system, specifically Earth, from attack from outside the system. During the Borg incursion, 2366, 2367, a number of ships comprising the Mars Defense Perimeter were easily destroyed by an approaching Borg cube. The Next Generation episode, The Best of Both Worlds, Part 2. In 2371, USS O'Keefe was assigned duty on the Mars Defense Perimeter. Command of the Mars Defense Perimeter was based at Utopia Planitia Control. This is COE ebook, Remembrance of Things Past, Book 1. In 2375, the Breen broke through the Mars Defense Perimeter on their way to attack Earth. Last Unicorn role-playing game module, Star Trek Deep Space Nine core gamebook. Uh, so that might be where they're getting some of this from. But again, when you're going from one game system to another, some are going to use ammo a little bit more than others, and so on and so forth, and how you want to do that. For me to kind of throw this out here, and I've really been thinking about the damages here, okay? Because I'd like to keep everything in line with everything else in the D6 universe. I think the damage should be up a little bit more. I think we should actually have. Um, so if this was me, and because I'm doing this, so I'm going to throw this out here. So STRPG. I'm throwing this out here, and we're going to like this. 7D damage. Now, the reason why I'm doing 7D is because if this was going to be in my universe, honestly, and I'm really putting it out in that regard because I am thinking more and more of trying to have a universe where I've got everything mashed together. So everything I'm doing here is just setting that all up. So I might start revisiting some of the damages, and I might have to come up with a scale. Okay, so like a type one is going to be type one phaser is going to be this, and type two and type three, and you see where I'm going with that. Not saying you couldn't upgrade things or whatever. In my world, because it's all pen and paper, and the realities don't have to fully exist, it does very much so in the science base of Star Trek. Okay, Star Wars is a little bit more loose on the rules, but keeping it as just a fun game to run around in. Okay, if my concussion missile launchers are doing about 70, uh, proton torpedo launchers are doing 90. Actually, that should probably be a 9D because I want that to be, whoops, on par with our heavy boys here. Um, because this is going to be trying to go after large capital scale ships. And I want that extra damage. I want this to be able to go toe to toe with Star Destroyers or whatever, or in this case, the Borg Cube. We can do massive damage to the Borg Cube. Potentially, or at least on paper, you should be able to knock out a Borg Cube. And then what we're going to need to do is we're going to have an autopilot, all right, and then we're going to add on here. And I'm going to put in. Oops, I hit the right button here. My laptop is going to pot yet, so trying to trying to make do with what I can. All right, so we're going to have our gunnery skill, and that is going to be, let's put it 3D plus one. Okay, so now with our gunnery skill being there, that means that our fire control being a 2D plus two, that gives me five dice to roll to get whatever I need, and plus three to add to it. And that's something that makes more sense to me. Okay. Um, Now, as far as um, like the crew, zero, it's automated. Let's see. But now can hold up to 20. Let's see. Let's add that in there. And the reason why I'm throwing this in here, because you might have to have a crew. Um, I'm throwing this in here because if I need a crew to be able to do maintenance, if it's gone through combat, and I might have to upgrade or reload the torpedoes and everything else, I'm going to need that in there. Okay. Likewise, what I'm going to do here, um, I'm going to shift this down a little bit, and I think this is going to be a little out of our common. Uh, I'm going to flip over to another ship here. So, crew, passengers. All right. So we have crew, passengers, and cargo. That's what I'm looking for. All right. Um, and actually, I'm going to copy that from the Danube here. Okay. And crew. Oops. And then I messed that up because I cargo and consumables. All right. I'm going to paste that in there. That's all it's wrong. Let's take that out of there. This is all what? Aerial 12. So we want, so being 14, we want that at a 12. So it looks like it all matches. All right. So I do want to have about 200 metric tons on there. The Danube works pretty well. Okay. So we have consumables on here. We're going to keep consumables because if I have to have that maintenance crew on there, I want to be able to have some consumables and the cargo space for extra materials. Okay. These can also be, well, simply put, if I have to have a crew on there of possibly 20, okay, so I can do repairs or maintenance or whatever else, you know, I want to have some stuff on there so that way I can kind of maintain things. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not just going to have a ship parked right outside, we'll beam a crew on there or whatever. But in my mind, especially with Starfleet being the way they are, sometimes they get called off. Now, whether you like the show or you don't like the show, on the lower decks, you know, they were doing very much the same thing. They drop off the lower deck crew, and then they're kind of working on it, and then they get a call to take off. Well, in this regard, now they have someplace safe to go. Say, hey, you finished the work here. We have to go take care of whatever. We will come back. We have some time here. Okay, this gives us the ability to actually um, maintain things. And for the most part, the interior might be all powered down for, humanoid livability, but we can always power that up and we can always get things going again so they can take their spacesuit off, rest, and recover from whatever they're doing. So, all right. So I've got a couple projects on our hands. First and foremost, and I think I will try to get that out for the Saturday video. I'm making this ahead of time because we have the national holiday called Thanksgiving for one, and for two, deer season here in Wisconsin. So even though I'm not partaking in the deer season itself this year, I do have family members that are, and it sometimes gets a little chaotic. And I know this coming week is going to be busy, so I'm trying to get some of this done ahead of time. But one of the things I'm going to try and work on here in my free time is let's break down the weapon systems and let's get this a little bit more in line with the Star Wars side of it. So when I start trying to throw it in there, everything should mash up. So some of the stuff will start changing from what D6 Holocron had, and I want it to match more of the Star Wars so that way I can mush it all together. Okay? Not saying I want to take away from what they've done. D6 Holocron has done a wonderful job. I just want to monkey a little bit with some of the damage and some of the hull strengths here. Just saying on that, okay? Um, because I think I want let's get on over to the Galaxy class, and we have a hull of 60. Actually, the 60 and the shields of 3D plus 2, those are pretty good. I don't have a problem with that. The Intrepid, a 40, that's not too bad all in all. These are not combat vessels. These are more of the exploration vessels. So in those regards, those are fine. I don't have a issue with those. I just want to double check things. Being with the perimeter defense platform, a 3D hull works really well. So yeah, I mean, I just want to take a little peek and see how we're doing, and then I really want to get a list of type whatever phasers and see incrementally how much they should probably change. So that's on my side, and then I'll let you know on Saturday how I've changed this a little bit here and a little there, and we'll go from that point. With that, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.